And this film is kind of how I found out that. This was how I kind of found out that DC Comics did own Batman. What complained about me? Because here's the Bionicle comic. The first time I heard of DC was working on these comics, a Bionicle. And then I found out Batman and Superman were a DC trademark, and that led me to wonder: is it really true that the two have clashed? But technically true. Technically true. This is possibly called licensing partnership, which I should have understood, which I should have found out about. Uh, for example, of how Marvel gets a license, how Marvel is not part of the entity of Columbia and stuff. It's just an independent comic book. It was just an independent comic book company, only to license with other companies around the world. Which now I get it. This is possibly called licensing partnerships with one company to another work on these kind of media, on these possible medias around the world. And Transformers is a Hasbro toy brand which licensed a popular film studio Paramount. I should have realized about that. And for example, there might be if a Bionic film was done by Warner Brothers, that means there's this possibility called partnership between Warner Brothers and Lego to work on certain brands like that, or Universal with the Glatorian, or partnering Universal with the disc edition in 2001, and then all the way to 8 years to the Glatorian and to the Glatorian film saga. That's what I mean. Don't worry, but don't worry. What I'm saying is not a rant. It's just something. Don't worry and don't worry. What I'm saying is not a rant on the. What I'm saying is not a rant on this film. It's just elements that kind of confuse me a bit. Elements that confuse me. Elements that leads me to that kind of puts me to a mystery and all that heck. Right. Let's just end it with and. Let's just end it with the favorite parts about the film. Favorite parts, yeah, the transformation from one bat suit to this bat suit, the transition of the tumbler evolving to a bat cycle, Rachel's evolution, because in the first one we get to see her as a young girl, then we see her as a grown up to be a Katie Holmes version. We'll say that Maggie Gyllenhaal represents that she's grown older. Like, because of the film took place a year later, as the Joker says, let's wind the clocks back a year, and I know why you choose do your conversations inside any hiding place daylight because as a Batman, that kind of thing. Let's just say that's because this film took place a year later. Of course, Dark Knight Rises, they do explain that their story took place 8 years later. Let's just say that. But anyways, yeah, young Rachel, then Katie Holmes Rachel, then Maggie Gyllenhaal Rachel, and then halfway in the film she dies by the explosion blast. Speaking of explosion blast, Harvey Dent, the beginning half of the film, he's a good guy, and he serves as DA to do his good duties. Halfway the film, half his face is burnt. The Joker infects him with infects his heart with infects him with vengeance. The Joker infects Dent with vengeance, and then that way throughout the rest of the film, he becomes a villain and does all the evil deeds, which then Gotham becomes hopeless. And Batman wants to find a relationship with Rachel, but because of her death, he's now got nothing to find a relationship with. And kind of how every possible place with explosives and murder and stuff. And then we get to see Loeb in the first film. Loeb in the second film, where halfway he's killed by the liquor filled with poison. Of course, Loeb doesn't have much of an important part. He only has one little bit of it in the mayor's office. Yes. Then, like 5 or 10 seconds, inside his commissioner office, where he was about to drink that liquor before he got killed. And then they commemorated him in the parade, and Gordon replaced him. And kind of how the Joker always rigs everything rigs places with explosions, such as how he rigged the hospital to blow up, how he rigged the ferries preparing to blow up, despite that they haven't. And the Joker might have already won the battle for Gotham's soul due to what he did to Dent. And speaking of the Joker, the Nolan version. I say Nolan version because that way we know that the difference between we know the director's work, because Tim Burton did 1989's Batman and with the Joker doing the Burton version of Joker smiles and stuff, and they look exactly like Jack Nicholson's grin. And this one, they kind of play like Heath Ledger's grin, Heath Ledger's Glasgow smiles. That's why I called the Nolan-fied version. So we know that the director's in charge is the word. It might represent that. The Nolan-fied Joker smiles, which I would have preferred. You know that dead body in a bat suit that freaked out the mayor. When he was standing next to the window, that kind of scene where he talked about he advised Dent that it's not people that that citizens around the world besides criminals are stalking around him. Like the citizens whose walls are about to get lighter. That kind of scene. The body in the dead body in the bat suit that freaked out the mayor at the window. I would have preferred that body was Gamble. Well, because he cut Gamble, because in that there's this Why So Serious scene where the Joker cut Gamble's mouth of killing him, and he pulled it off, and he did it like let's put a smile on that face. He already exposed Gamble with it, cutting it instantly, and then when he looked at his man saying why so serious, he cut him off instantly, and then Gamble slumped to the ground. I refer to that body in the bat suit would have been Gamble. But actually, the body in that bat suit was actually that Brian guy in that Joker video that they saw. You know, like this is how crazy Batman's made Gotham scene. And if you want order, he must take off his mask, turn himself in, and if he doesn't, I will kill everyone. And I'm a man of my word thing. That guy from the Joker video, from the first Joker video, that Bruce and Alfred were looking at. That guy was the dead body in the bat suit with the Glasgow smile. But at least we have like what appeared to be a Nolan version, as if he is. So of course those aren't the only things. There are more people than that. Like those dead bodies of whom's tags have the same name as Harvey Dent's. And you know that dark room, and Batman picks up a trims off a brick piece in order to examine with a fingerprint on it. If you saw two dead bodies slumping on the table with liquor, with wine bottles and playing cards and stuff, those guys have got exposed to Joker smiles too, and the Joker scribbled the newspaper with the mayor's face with the Joker smile when Gordon found out whom they're targeting. And the only time we get to see the Joker without his makeup when he on the parade scene. And name tags are good enough to target people, and including DNA, including fingerprint DNA, such as what happened what happened to Cirillo and Loeb, while Dent was obviously rescued, but of course they had to kill him because due to being affected with vengeance. And of course, and they're good at targeting people. And kind of how Batman banished himself kind of relates. It's just like the same way in the end of 2008. So like Martin was banished, but of course they got banished for different reasons. So far, this was the only film we got while we waited 4 years for The Dark Knight Rises. Yes, but still, this film is good. At much of a central important story where it's rigged with explosions and stuff. So it's kind of overall graded like a 9.5 out of 10. Meaning it is good. The only least favorite part is when Rachel is too much persistent to stick her commitment with Harvey Dent, even though she does know that sometimes nothing like this could work. Nothing like this can work as long as the Joker is there at Gotham. The situation has to take a while until they can fix this. And she would have been this close to fix her own situation until she died, without finding a relationship at all. And because of that, Dent became a psychotic revenging murderer. So she kind of did not stick out well. But the rest of it is good. That's the only thing. So this so far is the only popular film of 2008. And I'm Tao Mata 1888 signing off. And see you in the next review with The Legend Reborn.